In 48 hours, the ground was littered with wreckage. Over 30 Russian armored vehicles obliterated in a single sector of Donetsk, a blow so staggering, even Western experts in war analysis were stunned. The evidence was undeniable. Satellite feeds and raw combat footage showed Ukrainian Leopard 2 and T-64 tanks, a deadly combination of modern weapons. They operated in lethal synergy with scout drones, striking from concealed positions with surgical precision, hitting Russian armor exactly where its defense systems were weakest. Each explosion was a statement, a stark lesson in modern warfare, that low-cost defense technology, when perfectly coordinated, can neutralize expensive steel. This battle, a tiny point on the map, represented a seismic shift in warfare. It proved that drones are the new nerve center of the battlefield, turning each tank into a guided hunter. They were no longer lone machines of steel. And as the smoke thins over Donetsk, the question from this military update echoes far beyond Ukraine's front lines. Has this global conflict entered a new phase? An era where sensors and data determine victory before the first shell from the army is ever fired? When every advance is tracked, mapped, and targeted by the Air Force, how can armor survive? The sky itself has become the enemy's most potent weapon. The southern edge of Donetsk ignited. Russian forces surged forward with heavy mechanized units, a steel fist meant to shatter the Ukrainian lines. Their objective: to trigger a decisive breakthrough. Moscow's commanders aimed to smash the defensive barriers, seize critical roads, and drive deep toward vital supply hubs. Their strategy relied on overwhelming force. But Ukrainian soldiers were waiting, dug in with a lethal combination of firepower and omnipresent eyes in the sky. Leopard. 2 tanks of the 33rd Brigade lay silent in the tree line, their long 120mm cannons poised, ready to speak. Nearby, T-64 crews from the 47th settled into shallow earthworks, loading high-explosive rounds for the brutal close-in fight to come. Bradley fighting vehicles moved into position. Their 25mm chain guns whirred to life. Tau missiles acquired distant threats. These machines, these troops, were not alone. High above, reconnaissance drones patrolled the airspace, their feeds streaming directly to command, painting a real-time picture of the war that was unfolding. They detected enemy movement from 3 miles out. The Russian probe began. A dozen BTRs packed with infantry pushed forward. The drones caught them cold, relaying grid coordinates in seconds. The response was immediate. Artillery fire rained from the sky, tearing the lead vehicles into mangled scrap and forcing the remaining troops to scatter. Then, the main column arrived. Over 80 vehicles strong, T-80 tanks and BMP carriers. The trap was sprung. From the shell of a farmhouse, a Leopard crew watched. The first Russian tank crested the rise. One shot. The shell tore through the turret and a fireball erupted, a blinding orange bloom against the dusk sky. The surviving Russian soldiers bailed straight into machine gun fire from waiting Bradleys. Another T-64, concealed in a brush-lined gully, acquired its next target, an APC attempting a flanking maneuver. 2 quick rounds later, the vehicle was thrown onto its side, blocking the path and creating chaos among the Russian troops behind it. Ukrainian spotters called for fire. Cluster munitions were unleashed from distant howitzers, raining down on exposed soldiers as they dismounted. The Ministry of Defense in Kyiv later confirmed the scale in a military news release. Russia had committed more than 50 pieces of armor to this sector this month, from hulking MTLBs hauling ammo to swift MT-12 anti-tank guns. Nearly 20 were lost in a single day. The assault stalled, just 500 yards from its objective. Ahead lay a dense minefield. Planted weeks ago, it was a hidden network of anti-tank stakes and pressure plates that claimed 3 vehicles in the opening minutes. Tires shredded, tracks snapped, engines died under fire. Ukrainian engineers had seeded the ground with TM-89 mines, each designed to shred the vulnerable underbellies of armored vehicles, forcing survivors to abandon their gear. The strategic goal for the defense was absolute: halt the armored wave before it reached the outskirts of Volnovakha, a town of 20,000, now a ghost on the front line of this war. Its roads were a direct artery to Kramatorsk, If the Russians broke through, they could sever the supply lines for 3 brigades. Such a breach would starve their positions and tear a 10-mile gap in the line. Leopard gunners waited, holding fire for the perfect angle, letting the drones dictate the moment to strike. One Bradley crew used smoke for cover, reversing into a new position before emerging to fire a wire-guided missile, striking a straggling T-72 from 1,800 yards out. A perfect kill. The munition streaked low over the mud. Flames erupted 30 feet high. The convoy compressed, a perfect target for follow-up barrages. Russian drivers swerved in panic. Some vehicles plunged into ditches. Others reversed into their own formations. The net was tightening. Infantry dismounted directly into the teeth of Bradley suppressive fire. Their RPGs fell short, useless in the rain-soaked earth. The textbook assault had become a kill box. This war analysis proves it. Superior strategy and watchful drones defeat brute force. As both sides paused, the offensive faltered. Smoking hulks now marked the battlefield, monuments to a stalled advance. Recon drones had become the nerve center of Ukrainian fire control, launching from the rear to paint exact locations. Data streamed through secure Link 16 channels, crafting flawless kill zones ahead of every Russian maneuver. These small aircraft, vital to modern warfare, climbed to 1,500 feet. Their cameras scanned the vast fields in high definition. In a secret command bunker, operators watched screens ignite with enemy icons. The moment tracks crossed a designated line, targeting data reached tank crews in under 5 seconds, painting red boxes around hostile weapons. Range data flashed on gunner sights. A Leopard team, positioned behind a low ridge, received the first ping. The lead T-64 appeared at 1,900 meters. Its turret swung left. The commander's voice crackled. Fire! The loader slammed a fresh round home. The barrel recoiled, the shell a blur. Impact tore the Russian hull open in a shower of molten steel. 2 more shots followed in rapid succession. One went wide. The second ripped through the engine deck, halting the beast. The drone feeds kept streaming, a constant military update. They zoomed in on smoke plumes, confirming kills and adjusting fire for the next wave of troops. Another unit, a pair of T-64s nestled in a ravine, received coordinates for 3 BMPs clustered together. The first gunner squeezed the trigger, the round punching through the center vehicle's armor. Fuel ignited instantly. Flames leaped to the adjacent vehicles as their crews bailed out. Bradley gunners joined the deadly chorus. Their thermal optics locked onto heat signatures through the morning mist. Tau missile wires unspooled toward distant silhouettes. Each explosion registered on the drone's live map. Green check marks replaced red threads. Artillery adjusted for stragglers. This defense system never rested. When a Russian anti-tank team deployed a Cornet launcher at the edge of a tree line, the drone's infrared lens saw it. The heat bloom from the missile tube flashed an alert to nearby Leopards. Engines roared to life. Treads churned the earth. The tank slid sideways behind concrete rubble just as the missile screamed past. It detonated harmlessly against a birch tree. That split-second warning saved 3 crews, allowing them to swing their main guns toward the launch site. This is the reality of global conflict. Recon birds flew overlapping orbits. One handed off to another as batteries were swapped, keeping the sky saturated with eyes from the Air Force. Ground controllers prioritized high-value targets. Command variants, with their extra antennas, were first on the list. Every shell had to count. Russian drivers deployed smoke and drove in erratic patterns, but the drones adjusted altitude, their defense technology peering through the gaps, keeping the feed crystal clear. This constant loop spot, transmit, fire shrank reaction times to heartbeats. Open ground became a shooting gallery for the army. Ukrainian forces owned the information advantage. Every ping from above dictated the ground war. Russian anti-tank teams tried to shift the balance with the Cornet, and Konkur's missiles fired from the cover of forest edges. But most warheads veered off, slamming into dirt and trees. Ukrainian armor remained untouched, ready to counterattack. Soldiers in camouflage positions spotted the incoming threats on thermal scopes, but their launchers were too slow to align after the initial shock of the barrages. A Cornet crew near a pine cluster acquired a Bradley silhouette at 2,500 meters. The missile launched a guidance wire trailing behind it. The operator fought to steer it on target, but the projectile dipped low, exploding against a fallen log 300 meters short, a failure of their modern weapons. Another team with a Concurse system targeted a Leopard's hull, partially visible behind rubble. The shot climbed high, then plunged into soft earth. It threw up a plume of mud, not shrapnel. This military news was becoming a pattern, advanced guided missiles failing to find their mark. Intelligence reports in 2023 were unequivocal. Russian cruise missile effectiveness had plummeted, with failure rates reaching a staggering 60% duds, misfires, or projectiles simply falling from the sky. This military update was a game-changer. Some modern weapons never left the pad. Others went wild. On the ground, Ukrainian soldiers leveraged superior defense technology, instant alerts from overhead drones, a constant eye in the sky. This triggered a symphony of defense. Rapid smoke screens and violent jinking maneuvers to break a missile's lock. In the claustrophobic confines of a Leopard, a commander heard the piercing lock-on tone. He roared a command into the intercom. Canisters fired. White smoke erupted, a wall of concealment blooming in seconds. The heavy tank threw itself sideways, its steel form vanishing into the thick, artificial fog. A Cornet anti-tank missile sliced through the empty air where it had just been. Bradley crews executed the same battle drill, a hard reverse into cover, their gunners scanning, weapons hot. These army troops were well rehearsed. It was a constant, lethal dance. This rapid displacement denied enemy operators the stable sight picture required for their wire-guided weapons, a key tactic in modern warfare. The contrast was stark. Moscow's kill chain was crippled by latency. Spotters called targets. Commanders deliberated. Launchers waited for the green light. A war analysis showed critical delays for their military. By the time the order came, the target was gone. One squad of Russian soldiers achieved a clean launch from a concealed ditch. The missile flew true, closing 1,000 meters in a heartbeat. Then, nothing. A wall of smoke deployed on a signal from an unseen drone materialized from the earth. The warhead impacted harmlessly against a concrete barrier. After-action reports from the 47th Brigade documented dozens of Cornet and Concurse launches in a single afternoon. Only 8 came within 50 meters. Just 2 scored hits, minor track damage, repaired by army mechanics before dawn. It wasn't just smoke and speed. Ukrainian electronic warfare pods blanketed the battlefield, jamming guidance signals. Missiles. Their electronic brains scrambled, corkscrewed into empty fields. This was the new face of defense technology. High above, a recon drone loitered. It spotted a Cornet team setting up. A small munition was released. It fell silently, striking the launch tube directly. The missile inside cooked off. The result was a catastrophic flash, vaporizing the entire weapon system. Russian troops tried to advance with RPGs, but the open terrain was a killing field for the Bradley's 25mm chain gun. Its rounds stitched lethal patterns across the ground. The weather also turned against them. Rain-slicked launch rails led to misfires, the military's advanced weapons defeated by simple mud and water. Back in a command bunker, a war analysis confirmed a critical flaw in Russian doctrine. Their anti-tank teams were static, paralyzed by the fear of Ukrainian-laid minefields, compromising their own defense. Ukrainian forces, however, were constantly in motion, relocating every 15 minutes. In one sector, a single Leopard platoon evaded 4 separate missile salvos. This fluid warfare was key. They achieved this in less than an hour, ducking and weaving between ruined structures, their movements choreographed by real-time drone feeds. The tactical breakdown on the opposing side was becoming a fatal liability in this global conflict. The math was unforgiving. Russian gunners required 45 seconds from confirmation to launch. Ukrainian vehicles could change position in less than half that time. Smoke wasn't just a visual screen in this modern warfare. It also blinded the infrared seekers on their most modern weapons. This forced a retreat. Russian commanders pulled their anti-tank units back, terrified of counterfire that could arrive before they even had a chance to reload their defense systems. The grim calculus of this war became clear. Every miss was a $20,000 failure and a beacon that exposed the crew to instant, lethal retaliation. Ukrainian artillery crews capitalized on this. High-explosive fragmentation rounds rained down on launch signatures, scattering enemy soldiers into the brush. Dusk fell on a battlefield littered with spent launch tubes, the ghosts of a failed assault. Then, a new threat emerged from the twilight. FPV drones, the latest military update from the front. They were the finishers, swooping in on crippled, burning vehicles. They dove for the weak points: engine decks, crew hatches, optics. An ad hoc air force of terrifying precision. Their mission: ensure nothing was recoverable. These were small, agile craft, launched from simple racks just behind the lines. A potent example of asymmetric defense technology. In darkened bunkers, operators stared into goggles, the whine of electric motors in their headsets. On screen, a damaged T-80 trailed smoke. The operator banked his drone hard, lining up the attack run. It slammed into the engine's rear grille. The shaped charge ripped through metal, severing fuel lines. The tank convulsed, then plunged into a ditch, its Army career over. Nearby, a damaged BMP, its turret jammed, attempted a desperate retreat. Two drones descended like hawks. A coordinated strike. The first hit the driver's viewport, blinding the crew. The second punched through the thin top armor, one of the most effective modern weapons on the field. It ignited, stowed ammunition. A series of secondary explosions tore the vehicle apart, lifting the entire hull from the ground. This footage, later released as military news by the 47th Brigade, was raw and visceral. It showed two FPV drones hunting a crippled T-90M. Their operators, coordinating over a secure channel, called out attack vectors. The drones struck the engine deck, one after the other. Hatches blew open. The crew bailed, scrambling for the tree line as their own ammunition cooked off inside the turret. All this destruction, delivered by a shaped charge warhead no larger than a can of soda. And that was only the beginning. The cumulative effect: a $4.5 million machine reduced to scrap in under 30 seconds. The cost-benefit analysis is stark. Ukraine manufactures these FPV systems for approximately $500 each, covering the frame, battery, camera, and explosive payload. The T-90M, by contrast, rolls off the assembly line at over $4 million. A clear signal in modern warfare that low-cost swarms can neutralize high-value armor, risking none of their own soldiers. Brigade logs from October 2025 detail 43 confirmed vehicle kills by FPV drones alone in the Donetsk pocket. 28 were classified as total losses. 15 were rendered immobile for later recovery. The operators have a name for these weapons: unmanned finishers. Because they conclude engagements from a safe distance, tank crews remain buttoned up in hull-down positions, letting these advanced drones do the lethal work. On one monitor, a Bradley team observed as an FPV pursued a retreating Russian crew. It crossed 200 yards of open terrain, dove into a shallow trench, and neutralized the group before they could mount a defense. Fiber optic cables are now replacing radio links in newer models, a defense technology making them impervious to most jamming and enabling precision strikes through heavy electronic countermeasures. Pilots undergo 2 weeks of simulator training before conducting live missions from command stations fashioned out of shipping containers. Each shift operates up to 12 drones before requiring battery swaps. The 47th Brigade alone fields over 200 active FPV units, with fresh batches rotated in daily from 3D printing facilities near Kharkiv. The Russian army attempted countermeasures, nets draped over turrets, shotgun teams positioned on rooftops, but the drones fly low and fast. They skim the grass at 60 miles per hour, too swift for manual targeting. One T-72 crew deployed camouflage mesh, but the FPVs simply maneuvered underneath. One detonated against the belly plate, the force flipping the 46-ton military vehicle onto its side. Ground troops marked the wrecks with orange tape, ensuring follow-up drones don't waste their payloads, maximizing the effectiveness of every launch. The psychological impact on enemy troops spreads rapidly. Intercepted Russian radio traffic reveals crews hesitating to advance, citing what they call those damn kamikaze bees that hunt the wounded. This global conflict is forcing tactical evolution. Ukrainian commanders now pair FPV teams with artillery spotters, authorizing strikes only after drones confirm the area is clear of friendlies. A single operator in the 82nd Brigade recorded 4 kills in one afternoon. He guided drones through the shattered windows of abandoned farmhouses to strike parked MTLBs. The cost efficiency is staggering: $1 to $8,500 versus $4 million. It's a war analysis that turns defense budgets into lethal mathematics. As smoke drifted over the newest graveyard of steel, the message was clear. Battles no longer end with the roar of a main gun. They end with the quiet buzz of a plastic propeller sealing the fate of giants. In the aftermath, Ukrainian troops reclaimed dozens of Russian BMPs, and BTRs left almost entirely intact on the battlefield. They were hauled to repair yards, the captured hardware pressed into service within days to reinforce their own lines. In forward depots, mechanics worked with grim efficiency, stripping away enemy markings. They welded on fresh reactive armor and replaced radios with NATO standard sets, transforming former enemy weapons into frontline assets for their army. A convoy of 3 BTR-82 wheeled carriers departed a concealed workshop near Pokrovsk just 72 hours after being recovered. Crews from the 82nd Brigade discovered them abandoned, engines still warm, keys dangling, with only minor shrapnel damage from nearby explosions. Drone pilots had neutralized the original drivers with precise strikes on their vision slits, compelling the remaining crew to flee on foot into the night. The soldiers patched the holes with blue and yellow tape, loaded 30mm ammunition belts, and sent the vehicles directly back into the war. They were now fighting against their former owners. The 82nd alone added 3 fully operational BTR-82s to its roster in October 2025. Each vehicle now transports infantry squads to contested zones with a speed impossible for foot marches. This military update is supported by frontline reports listing 27 Russian armored carriers and fighting vehicles seized across Donetsk since the month began, with 19 of them returned to duty following rapid repairs. Welders patched hull breaches in under 6 hours. Electricians rewired control panels, and gunners test-fired the main cannons on nearby ranges before the dawn patrols commenced. This rapid refit strained Ukrainian logistics, a race against time without waiting for foreign aid. Captured T-62 tanks underwent the same battlefield conversion. Fuel cells filled to capacity. Tracks were torqued, turrets traversed. The 115mm main guns cycled, a confirmation of their deadly purpose. The psychological impact on Russian troops was devastating. Radio chatter intercepted by intelligence confirmed it. Crews were refusing to advance, haunted by the fear of their own weapons turned against them. High command in Moscow frantically issued new retreat protocols. But the corrosion of morale had already set in. Ukrainian information warfare units broadcast the footage. Captured tanks rolling past the burning hulks of their sister vehicles. Trust in the chain of command shattered. Every reclaimed vehicle denies Russia a weapon of war and grants Kyiv's army critical firepower at zero cost. Under the silent watch of drones, salvage teams move in the twilight. Flatbed trucks and heavy winches drag the steel carcasses clear of treacherous minefields, a core mission for their defense technology. A single night operation near Volnovakha yielded 4 BMP-3 fighting vehicles. Engineers worked through the darkness, replacing shattered optics with stockpiled spares. By dawn, they were back on patrol. A logistical windfall. Captured Russian diesel, left in the abandoned tanks, fueled Ukrainian defense systems for weeks. The 47th Brigade now fields a hybrid platoon. 2 Leopards, 1 T-64, and 3 captured MTLBs. These flexible strike groups are a nightmare for enemy targeting in modern warfare. The war analysis is stark. Logistics officers estimate every recovered carrier saves $1.2 million and keeps a dozen soldiers in the fight. For Russian supply officers, it's a waking nightmare. Convoys halt, paralyzed by the knowledge that abandoned gear only strengthens their opponent's military. Intercepted orders are clear. Crews must scuttle their equipment before withdrawal. But in the chaos of retreat, demolition charges are left unarmed. Ukrainian sappers neutralize the booby traps in minutes, then tow away their prizes. The strategic ripple effect reaches Moscow's highest echelons. Fewer platforms on the front mean thinner reserves for any future offensives. This military update shows Kyiv's repair network now turns around 10 vehicles a week. Mobile workshops, mounted on truck beds, follow the shifting front. The soldiers have a nickname for this reborn fleet: Frankenstein's Ride, a grim joke masking the pride of outsmarting a larger foe with superior modern weapons. The CSIS assessment proves true across the theater. Superior data fusion and rapid adaptation convert enemy losses into Ukrainian gains, shifting the momentum of this global conflict without new budgets. As winter approaches, each salvaged hull is a shield against the cold and a spear for the spring. The ambush in Donetsk just rewrote the rules of modern warfare. Tanks and drones now function as one networked mind. Data dictates the terms of engagement before the first shell is fired. Russia lost dozens of weapons in hours, but the real wound is deeper. They have lost control of the digital battlefield. They are forced to watch their own machines burn while Ukraine orchestrates the battle from miles away. This clash confirms the new arms race is about speed. See first, act first, and you dominate the day. Ukraine has turned 500 drones into a decisive Air Force asset. They've become the 21st century's most lethal tool. What is Moscow's counter? AI, swarms, electronic blackout capabilities, or an entirely new doctrine of warfare? Post your war analysis below. Who truly commands the battle? The side with more steel, or the one with total information dominance? Like this report and share it with your network. And subscribe to Military Force for the next critical military news update from the front lines.